The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Oh, hey, hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show, your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host. The screen is gonna go in ape shit. Okay, this might end with us like halfway through doing a run to plug in an Ethernet cable. We will see. But I'm your host, Jarod, the Dark Jedi Bachman Subs. Joining me is Spencer, the Mando Simpson.
Yes. Hello. Hello, my good friends. It's good to be back to review the first 3 episodes of Andor. And we have a very special guest waiting for us in the green room.
Yeah, we have a very special story to tell before we're going to bring in Conor first, and we'll hear from our friends at Sunday's Bloody Mary. But we have a story, my friends.
It's going to be a big nut bus.
And it involves more clips. But we are joined by the one and only Conor Chakudi, the Lore Keeper, the One-Eyed Knight.
Hello.
Breaker of Chains, first of his name. Any House of the Dragon? Are you watching House of the Dragon?
I have not. I'm not. I don't have the luxury of HBO.
I don't have Habo Max.
I don't have Habo Max. No.
Oh, use my Habo Max.
As long as we stop calling it Habo Max when referencing yours specifically, and me using it.
I don't know what you're implying, but I don't like it. Hi, Conor. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. It's been a while since we've done a Knights episode.
I know, it has been. Life comes at you hard and fast. And you know what else comes at you hard and fast? Hangovers. And hangovers suck. You know what helps get rid of hangovers? Me being able to see where the hell the Bloody Mary tab is. There it is. SundaysBloodyMary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy. You guys know the drill by now. They have the 2-time award-winning spicy Caesar Bloody Mary mix. They also have their mild and traditional mixes as well if you are not a spice lord yourself. They also have garnishes like the rim salt, pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus, as well as some very cute merch down here. You guys go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP, TNAP, at checkout and get 10% off your order. And you help out your favorite nerds while you do it.
So, you sure do.
Before we get into Andor, Spencer has a story for us. A story I've not heard the details of. I just know that this event came to pass. Now, I will say, and this is, and I'm going to do the thing I hate other people for doing. I'm more excited for Spencer's story than I was for Andor.
Oh no!
Let that not be a bash on Andor, but just let it speak to the volume of excitement I have. Now, okay, we're going to make a game time decision, all 3 of us right now. Do we tell the people who it is at the beginning? Or do we tell them
in real time?
In real time.
Probably. Okay.
I think you'd be the judge because you lived it.
I think the story is best told as I lived it, which is the slow burn, slow reveal. So we're gonna go with that. All right. So there I was. For those of you who don't know, I work at a museum. I'm the museum manager at the Lincoln Highway Experience. It's the largest museum in the country dedicated to the history and heritage of the first ever coast-to-coast highway in America, from New York City to San Francisco. And in this museum, we have a diner. It is originally from 1938. It's been restored. It has its permanent home in our museum. And as part of the tour, at the very end of the tour, you can sit in the diner and have a cup of coffee and a slice of pie served to you by volunteers in the diner as part of your museum experience at no additional charge. It's pretty cool if you ask me. So as museum manager, I'm in charge of the day-to-day operations of the museum, as well as a fair amount of office work. So as long as things are going well, as long as nothing is going contrary to plan, then I kind of sit in the office doing office work until I'm called upon. On this particular occasion, I heard over the radio people communicating, yeah, we have 3 new guests coming in. They're going to want regular coffee whenever they get down to the diner. Make sure you get that ready. They're here with the Renaissance Fair. I'm like, that's interesting. So like there are people here that are here with the Renaissance Fair. And I didn't really think much about it. I went back to work. But as I often do, I went down to the diner after like 40 minutes or so to just check on things, see how things are going with our volunteer. We had a guy in volunteering who has been there longer than I have. I never worry about him, but I like him a lot. So I go down to check on him. So I go down in the diner, and there sit one after another 3 very, very lovely people. There's a lady there who is dressed uniquely, but very beautifully. It's like an old-fashioned, almost like French. I don't even know how to say it. Like she's got like a stylish corset kind of thing, and a long dress and a beret.
They're very clearly Renaissance people in their civvies.
Yes, they're very clearly Renaissance people in their regular civilian clothes. And from left to right, I'm talking to them at the diner. I'm behind the bar, as it were, and I'm talking to them at the stools. And from left to right, there was a fire eater. There was a guy who professed to be a professional bum, and I think she was some kind of like princess or something. She mentioned being a princess, but I'm not sure if that was for the Renaissance Fair or if that was in a previous life. I don't know. But the 3 of them are there, and they tell me, yeah, we are contractors with the Renaissance Fair. We go all over the country. We go to Alaska. We go to Arizona. We go literally everywhere. We are like private contractors hired for Renaissance Fairs specifically. And I say, that's weird. That's a really interesting job. Tell me more about it. So, of course, the guy says, I am a world record-holding fire eater. No joke. I asked him, how does one become a world record-holding fire eater? I did not know.
You outlived the other guys.
Yes. I did not know that there were world records for fire eating. It had something to do with, like, the most number of fiery torches he had eaten in a minute or something, which was, like, 45 or 50. In any case, so I go next down the line, and I say, okay, what about you? Like, what do you contract for with the Renaissance Fair? And he says, when you're in this city and there's this guy on the street who's like covered in a blanket, and he's like asking for money, and people go down and they come by him, and he says, hey, give me $1. Give me $1. I said, yes. And he says, that's what I do. People walk by me and I say, give me $1. And I say, wait a minute. Is that exactly what you say? Give me $1. Exactly like that? And he says, yeah. I say, wait a minute. Do you play an accordion? And he says, yeah, I got an accordion. And I'm like elbows on the counter in this guy's face. I'm like, you will not believe this. But I have a friend, and we started a podcast together. And last year, he was at the Renaissance Fair, and he passed you saying, give me $1.
Give me $1. Hey, we gotta hit it every time.
He passed you when you were saying, give me $1. And he paid you extra to take a video of you saying, give me $1. so that he can show it on his channel at the end of every episode when we are asking for sponsors. A video of you at the Renaissance Fair saying, "Give me $1." And he's like, "No way." So what I did was, I was like, "This is for real, man." At the end of every single episode, we have this video of you saying, and so I go on YouTube like any rational person would, and I looked up the interview that we did with Eric because I remember the novelty of it with him never being on the show before, and like he has no idea what to expect. And so I go to the end of the episode. I happen to like scrub right to the plugs. Spencer, where can the lovely people find you? You can find me here. Here's where the lovely people. You can find me on here. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on our website. And make sure you check out our Patreon, where you can subscribe. And it popped up, and the Fire Eater's like, "That's you! That's him!"
The Fire Eater goes full Leo, and
he's like, "That's the guy right there." And so I'm like, so I say, "Can I please get my picture with you? This will make his day." Like, if I text him, I'm like, "You'll never guess who is in the museum right now." And he was like, "Yeah, man, sure. People get their picture with me all the time." So let's find the picture.
Yeah.
So this is us in the museum today.
Getting $1.
I got the $1.
How much $1
Oh my
costs
God.
your life?
Yeah, he was like, they were all really, really wonderful people. We didn't, I wouldn't say it was a record-setting day for donations, but like per capita, it's the most donations I've ever seen. We had like 7 people in the museum, and there were 7 $5 bills in the donation bucket. So like, these guys were really great. They were really interested in the highway. They were really personable, very willing to share their stories. Even the Give Me $1 guy, I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how generous and how personable everybody was today, but particularly this folks from the Renaissance Festival, and particularly the Give Me $1 guy. So shout out to Give Me $1 guy. No, I did.
I always call him Give Me $1 guy.
I thought maybe I should leave him to be known as the, Give Me $1 guy.
Okay. What? One more time before the end of the show.
Give me $1. It's the guy.
Video watchers, just soak this in, and if you're only listening, put on the video version right now.
Yeah.
That is the end of my very interesting story. If any of you out there are saying to your children, "Don't be a history major, don't go into the public history field, there's nothing out there for you," I put this to you, sirs and madams, as counter evidence. There is something out there for you. There's this guy, the Give Me $1 guy.
I'm trying to get to because I sent the picture into Goon Squad after you told me. And here, give me $1. I sent the picture in, and I just need to read the unhinged reactions that followed.
I haven't seen them either.
People lost their minds. So I go, y'all. Wait, hold on. I do, y'all, and I send the screenshot of you go, "You're not gonna believe who's in my museum right now." I jokingly say, Weird Al. You say, "Not quite." Send that picture we showed you guys. He's like, "It's the Give Me $1 guy." Trey from Skywalking had no idea what we were talking about. Conor in no caps, "No fucking way." And then Alden Diaz was like, "No way, give me $1. I love that clip." And Alden was very pleased with the fact that you took a picture with him. That
was the first thing I went, because I knew you wouldn't believe me unless I took a picture. You'd be like, they'd be like, no. There's no way that you would even be able to know that he was the Give Me $1 guy. And what was funny was, and I was telling this to Taylor whenever we were linking up a little while ago, I said, it's weird because twice in the last week, there have been instances where I've been given this much detail about somebody who's in the museum, and I think to myself, there's only one person on Earth I know who fits that description, but they can't possibly be them. And then both times with just like 2 tiny pieces of information, I'm like, it's got to be them. And it turns out to be them. And in this case, it was, there's somebody in from the Renaissance Fair. And I looked at the guy and I'm like, I guess he could be Give Me a Dollar guy for all I know. And then he starts talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's actually Give Me a Dollar guy.
Okay, one more time for the one time.
Give me a dollar.
So funny. My
What a
favorite thing,
crossover.
and obviously can't top this. One of my favorite moments ever is I was perusing TikTok and a video of him came up where he went full fucking comrade. We're like he was doing this, like, for those of you who have seen like Brendan Lee Mulligan, like Dimension 20, like the D&D show, very much so, like, very funny, like in the middle of a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, doing the whole, well, you see, the cops, enforce the will of the ruling class and the money, like it just goes full, like, just goes full conquest of the bread, like just comrade out the ears. And it was this hilarious video of the Give Me a Dollar guy with a slow zoom in on him while he's just spewing theory with the screen slowly turning red as he's speaking.
Is this do you know where to find this?
Oh no, this was like, oh my god, it was like 6 months after we saw it.
Oh.
It's buried in TikTok. I mean, I might be able to hunt it down, maybe, if I'm lucky. I'll try to find it when we're done.
I have to see it.
But it was so funny. It was so funny. I was like, hey, just Give Me a Dollar guy. Never think you're going to see this man again.
So that's my funny story. And without further ado, we are going to jump right into our Andor talk. So I was unpleasantly surprised to find that they dropped 3 episodes with the premiere of the show. So I barely made it through all 3 episodes before it was time to record tonight, but that's okay. I did make it through. I'm very excited to talk about it. I feel like we should bop to Conor first.
I was going to say the same thing. Well, I was going to say, it's fresh for you. I recorded like a mini myself, like first impressions review yesterday. So absolutely, Conor, all you, bud.
I've only watched it once.
Same.
Yeah, that's across the board. Yeah.
It's pretty good. I think definitely on a production level, it is the best live action Star Wars show, like undoubtedly on that level. Like there's no denying that. Story wise, it looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to where it's gonna go. That's all I got. I watched it at 3 a.m. when it dropped, and I just was like, it was such a slow burn, but also I shouldn't have watched it at 3 a.m. because I did not remember half of it.
This one, more than I think any other show, is the hardest to pull off at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, I am so glad that my schedule has changed so that, like, I don't open on Wednesdays. Like, I now get to, like, stumble out of bed and gingerly turn on the show whenever I want to. So I got to watch it at noon, like I got to, like, wake up, have something to eat, do my thing, and then, okay, I'm gonna watch Andor now. Instead of, like, having to do the mad dash, I'm not gonna have time to watch it at work. I gotta watch it now so I don't get spoiled. So I'm happy with that. Spencer, your thoughts? Overall thoughts before we jump into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, sure. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about the best live action production quality for Star Wars TV shows, but I think this is the first one that I specifically took notice of. What was it that Eric said on an interview? He's like the kind of talent that you don't notice when it's good, but you notice when it's bad. Yeah. That he had a name for it. It's like soft talent or something like that. Yeah. But the production quality, the sound mixing, the visual effects, the stuff that in a show like Star Wars you expect to be good, so you never notice unless it's bad. The only counter example I can give in recent memory is this show. Like, I took notice of the cinematography of it. I took notice of some of the effects, particularly some of the camera angles that were natural, but they were at least unusual enough that I was like, oh, I'm noticing that they chose that shot specifically, and it works really well. And I think to the average watcher, it's not going to be that jarring. Somebody might say, oh, well, if you're noticing that they're making a certain shot change, then it's not natural. But not everybody thinks about shows and movies the way that we do.
Yeah.
But it did come off very naturally, and it was an expertise. Yeah, go.
I do want to say, though, I think, especially when it comes to Star Wars, and this is a conversation that's going to be happening a lot with Andor, for better or worse, is does blank feel like Star Wars? And Star Wars, kind of historically, when you look at the Lucas era, at least, is a lot of just wides and close-ups. Like, there is not a diverse breadth of cinematography.
Yeah.
George shoots in wides and over the shoulders and in close-ups. He's not doing any crazy, like trying to like do weird mirrored shots. It's one of the things that, again, love them, hate them, I don't care about the sequel trilogy. We're like, those movies are beautifully shot. And it's because there is a refusal to stick to a strict Lucasinian, bare bones cinematography, ethos, that you get shots like that. Like, and it's one that this immediately popped in my mind, like the fighter chase in the beginning of The Force Awakens with the Falcon on Jakku. Like, I don't think George ever would have like committed to that like slight Dutch angle with the Falcon at an angle with the tie coming straight on. Like, you don't really get that. You just get a lot of wide shots and then close-ups of the people inside the ship and then a wide shot. So like this show, and it's that interesting bell curve that happens where if you're doing your job right, you don't notice these things. When you're messing up, it is omnipresent that it is bad.
Yeah.
But there's also the equally rare occurrence where it is so good you go,
that's
damn.
unusual. Yeah. It catches your eye. And I think just on the whole,
God damn it, Conor.
I think just on the whole, it was surprising. I think for all aspects of it, for me, for different reasons, surprising is the word I would use to describe the first 3 episodes of this show. In terms of the plot, I was surprised in that it was not what I was expecting. In terms of the production, I was surprised because it was really, for lack of a more precise term, sophisticated compared to what you often get from Star Wars cinematographically. The soundtrack was interesting for reasons we'll get into later. The acting, I thought, was really superb in the principal characters and even in the ones that are on screen for a minute.
Dude,
tops.
those extras make that town feel so alive.
Absolutely.
That is like, it throws me back to the OT. It throws me back to Phantom Menace with the level of like, and again, and not to lean too far into like the fandom in joke of the glup shitto, but like every time, like I just could not stop. Like, ooh, what do they do?
Yeah. What's
especially
their life
in that
story?
third episode, especially in that third episode with that like community solidarity.
Yeah.
Of like that. Holy shit! That third episode. We'll get into it. But damn,
It was wow. It had like a Broadway-esque ensemble to it.
Yeah.
Like, you noticed the extras.
there are no
as
small
much as-
parts. There are no small parts.
Exactly. It's like every single one of those extras was acting like this was the role that was gonna like be their breakthrough role, and it was awesome. I loved it. Even I thought one of the best performances of the first 3 episodes was the guard on whatever planet that was.
Oh, the first episode.
The first episode.
Yeah.
The guy
Yeah.
the guy who doesn't die
He
first.
begs. He starts
the guy
to beg.
The
That
guy
was
who begs. I was like, who is this guy? He's incredible. This guy deserves all of the props for his 30 seconds on screen. Like the way that he is
what does it.
absolutely. The way he goes from being totally in charge of the situation. Like I'm the police in this town. I'm the muscle in this town. To like working out with Mando how they could go to the authorities and make this look legit. Did I say Mando?
Yeah.
With Andor, they sound so similar. How he's like working out with Andor, like we can go to the authorities, we can make this all look legit. He fell, it's fine. He hit his head, it's fine. And I'm like, I believe that guy. Like I believe that he's actually begging for his life. That's incredible acting from the extras. Way to go, extras! I love you guys.
Shouts out MVPs.
Sensational.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
In the heat of battle, he don't miss.
No.
In the heat of controversy, he don't miss.
I want to say for the record, I found a more high quality version of that video. I prefer it with 3 pixels.
You do?
I kind of prefer that video having 3 pixels in it, but that's just me, as you were saying.
No, he's good.
No, he's good.
I don't know. Those first impressions is just like really excellent on a lot of the main points. The plot is kind of working itself loose a little bit here and there, and I'm thinking Disney has been and even as a recent example as well, the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, Rings of Power, dropped 2 episodes at the premiere, and that's relatively unheard of until what? A year ago, 2 years ago.
Well, it was either you're going to go weekly or you're going to binge. It was like, and there was no in between of like doing a little bit here and there. I will say The Boys. I know I don't think The Boys was the first, but I know season 2 and season 3 of The Boys both were like, here is a shitload of episodes, and then we're going to do a weekly drop.
But the pattern for Disney recently has been a 2-episode drop and then weekly after that. And it like I said earlier, like I barely made it through all 3 episodes before we recorded because I was expecting 2 at most, and they dropped 3. But I will say this, I think that was a smart decision, because if you as Conor at 3:00 in the morning are able to get through those first 2.5 episodes without falling asleep, then it doesn't really hint at picking up until the very end of episode 3. You don't get a hint that the action is rising until then. Like the first 2.5 episodes seem like almost entirely expositionary. It's a lot of setup. It's good setup. It's not boring setup, but it is set up. And by the end of episode 3, you're getting into the okay, we're going somewhere. We're doing something. There's the plot is in motion. It's not because for the first few episodes, it's very much like establishing who Andor is at this point, which is a very different Andor than we knew him from Rogue One.
But still with some things that carry over. I think it is a really fascinating decision. We're getting into more things, and I keep cutting in. I'm sorry.
No.
I think it's a really fascinating decision that we get 2 introductions to Cassian. Like as a whole, as a character. You know, one at the beginning of this show, one when we first see him in Rogue One. I guess you can say 3 when we see the first flashback to Kenari, which holy shit, that's so good. But I think it is interesting that both center on him in a situation where he very questionably kills somebody. And I think it is very fascinating. Star Wars is like poetry. It rhymes. I love the decision to keep Cassian, like, how do I put it? Not unlike Solo. You know, the point of Solo is here's how Han got his start. Now, on paper, as a screenwriter, Han should, by the end, have his, I'm a swashbuckler, I'm a scoundrel, I'm not the good guy, into fully being that good guy. But there's a whole ass movie where that happens. Followed by 2 other whole movies that double down on that transformation and enhance it. So you can't have him fully develop as a character. You have to develop him from being kind of naive into this suave guy. I love that this decision Andor has made almost from the jump has been, yes, Cassian starts as a little bit more of a selfish devil may care kind of guy, but he's never going to lose that edge. He's never going to lose that kind of darkness and willingness to him. And I think it's a very fascinating choice. I think it is very interesting. Like, I do not think it is an accident on the part of anybody involved with this that with the first 2 times we meet Cassian, he is shooting an unarmed man.
Yeah. And the first time, and the time we see it in Andor, it really kicks off his whole journey.
Yeah, and that's it. But they're also like so morally ambiguous as well, though. You know, like you can really get in the weeds. Like, should he have shot that Corpo guy? Well, on paper, no. Like, you know, like that's your knee-jerk thing is to say, you know, killing people bad, duh. But then you got to put yourself in his shoes. Like, you know, this guy, yeah. He's saying, oh, it was an accident, all this shit. You know, he's gonna rat on him.
Yeah.
You know, he's gonna throw him under the bus like it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's a self-preservation there, but even though it's morally questionable.
Yeah.
Same thing with the guy who gets gunned down in Rogue One. Like, he needs to do it because he needs to get the hell out of Dodge. But you're holding the mic for me. I just realized that.
That's okay.
I mean, he's like, he has to get the hell out of Dodge, but by the same token, like, he just killed your boy because he had a broken arm. Like, goddamn.
Yeah.
Especially by the end of episode 3 of Andor, it's become very clear that like he was off world, very, if not illegally, under very conspicuous terms.
Oh yeah.
Like he had called in numerous favors to make that trip, and so there's no way in you know what that he can possibly be caught off world doing what he's doing. Like there's nobody coming for him if that's the case.
Yeah.
He either gets out of there scot-free, or he goes to jail and is probably tried and executed for killing 2 law enforcement officers.
Yeah, and like, and again, like, I think another, and I don't want to dwell on like him shooting officers too much because they're killing them, because like the first guy, like you could like make a real world legal defense for. They jumped him, Cassian defending himself, headbutt the guy, and either the guy fell or he, you know, you had that very ugly thing with like cartilage from the nose into the brain type thing.
Yeah.
Where like either way, like that first guy who goes down, I think there is an airtight defense for that. So like, and again, I think it is intentional that there's like like he died, like that guy got killed while Cassian was defending himself. He wasn't even trying to kill the guy. He just died in the process. That other guy though. His face is a blaster hole now.
He domed him.
He put the blower in his lap and said, "Bitch, I did that."
X-rated.
There it is. Anyway, I keep cutting it on you because you keep
jogging your memory. Yeah.
Not just jogging my memory, but like poking an idea out.
What was I gonna say? I don't. Surprising, I think, is what I was at. Yeah. The plot starts at an unusual point, but it works. Like, we're very much establishing Cassian as he is at this point in time over the course of those first 2.5 episodes. But by the end of episode 3, now I'm like, okay, this is a show I'm coming back for every week. This is a show that I wake up on Wednesday. Does it drop on Wednesdays? Yeah. This is a show I wake up on Wednesday and I'm like, today's the day. I'm watching Andor today. That is what I get by the end of episode 3, which is why I think I would have probably in their shoes made the same decision to drop the first 3 episodes all at once, even though it is kind of unconventional in terms of Disney's rate of release. I think it was the right call, because if you're able to, Conor, at 3:00 in the morning, stick it out for the first 2.5 episodes, by the time you get to episode 3, you're like, okay, I'm in it now.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped immensely that I took like a 2-hour nap before then. So I was like wide awake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, still though, you know, like there's that, and I think there's truth to that, and I think there's also a very smart decision on the part of Disney to recognize, you know, like you have a bigger release slate now. You have a much bigger release slate that you cannot afford, or not necessarily cannot afford, but like, you know, you kind of got to expedite the process here. And I agree completely. And again, this isn't to the discredit of the first 2 episodes, but I agree with you completely. Like, I think that that the best way to sell this show is being able to go from each episode. Because I was invested in episode 1 and I was like engrossed in episode 2, and I was audibly shouting at the TV by episode 3 with excitement. Like within 3 episodes, I did not expect to have such a visceral reaction to some stuff like I did. Like Tim's betrayal.
Yeah.
I did not expect, with only like 15 20 minutes of screen time, that when Tim gets shot, I'm like, good for you, you snitch son of a bitch. Like I'm like, yeah, that's what you get. You know, I had a visceral reaction despite the fact it's only 3 episodes.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and I know that like I'm a movie crier, and anything with Star Wars is always gonna get my goat. You know, again, we told the story about how I cannot watch the season 2 Amanda finale and not sob like a baby. But like, you know, I didn't cry for IG-11.
Yeah.
You know, I love the scene. It's beautiful. It's incredible. I didn't cry for IG-11. You know, I screamed at the TV when Tim got gunned down, though. But yeah. You got anything else?
Not for now.
Okay.
I'll bounce it back to you.
I would say because I've pretty much given all my thoughts as we've gone.
He's out. We're only 36 minutes in, and Jarod is out of ideas. Wow.
I mean, for like the, you know, like overall, I want to talk about Kanari. I said I had this in my notes. I said this in like the little mini review I put up, and I've been seeing more people talk about it online, and I'm glad, because I think this is one of the bravest decisions this show made. Whomever's idea it was, I'm going to big screen us real quick. I'm going to drive this point home. Whomever's idea it was to not have the basic subtitles on Kanari, you deserve a raise.
I agree. You know, I did not.
That was such a brave decision.
It was a brave decision because Star Wars, when it talks in alien languages without subtitles, it is always in some form of the following. I know we're in trouble. Just hang on.
Or as one could describe it, the one-sided telephone call.
The one-sided telephone call. That's exactly what it's like. Star Wars alien languages are always some form of the one-sided telephone call when it comes to major when it comes to any dialogue that's worth knowing what they're actually saying. Like they kind of
get subtitles, or you're either subtitled, or like you said, like, I know we're in trouble. Like, I'm just gonna repeat what you said for the audience and the other people who can't speak your language.
George's daughter, a car accident. Her head ended up where? All right, I'll tell him. So anyway, I agree. And I also took note of that. I was like, wow.
I'm going to be okay, Giuseppe. Boom time. Anyway, I'm sorry.
He's not well. Okay. Jarod and I are independently seeing John Mulaney live this weekend, and it's showing. Anyway, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And it was interesting to me, at least. And this, I think, speaks to the linguists who worked on this, because it sounded like some combination to me of like an East Asian and Latin language. Like it had elements of both to my ear. So it is both to the credit of the linguists who formulated the syllables and the syntax and the cadence of their language, and also to the credit of us as a human species, I guess, because even though I had no idea what they were saying at times, there were times when I knew exactly what they were saying. Yeah. You know, and I think it takes a really brave person, and you're right, whoever it is, you deserve a raise.
Probably Gilroy.
It takes a really brave person to be in that conference room and say, people are smart enough, no subtitles. Yeah. They'll get the gist.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that those like iconic like Han and Greedo scenes are bad.
Yeah.
You know, could you probably get away with just having Greedo just, man, I'm dead, I'm boss, got Slim all. Like, could you probably get away with that and Han just fucking dome him based off of Han's half of the conversation? Sure. You could probably one-sided telephone call every single line of Star Wars dialogue that has a translation at the bottom. You probably could do that. It's a matter of flavor, but there is something so immersive and emotional about not knowing what they're saying. Like you said, like not knowing what they're saying, but knowing what they're saying.
Yeah.
And knowing what's going on. Like the very real terror going through those kids when that, I think, separatist, because
It looked like it.
well, Alex did a video and he zoomed in on like the patch and it's the Confederacy symbol. When those separatist scientists showed up and like shot that kid, like I didn't need subtitles for that, and I had already been along the journey with them for so long that like it was like, all right, man. And again, and not to like caveat anything of like, oh, Andor's only good because or anything stupid like that, but like maybe there is Andor is better than. I'll tell you that story later.
Carry on.
Twitter's dumb.
Really dumb.
There's something like I think that can be said for the fact that we sit down for the first 3 episodes of Andor at a feature length. Like we really do sit through a movie with these characters in one sitting. Now, does that do a great deal of priming for us? And again, these are all conversations that we could have for years about, the weekly model builds suspense, but doing things in a quick succession gets you invested quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that weird give and take. Doing this 3 episode drop again as a matter of utility, perfect decision. And I think that splitting up these 3 episodes, or maybe even 2 and then 1 each week, I don't know how attached to the Canary Village I would have been. And obviously, like, no. and obviously, I'm not the kind of guy who's like, well, they didn't make me care. Like, I'm not that kind of guy when it comes to movies and stuff. That's just not how I relate to art and media. But like, I very much can like recognize the spectrum of caring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If that makes sense.
I think you're absolutely right. If they would have dropped this weekly, then the Canary flashbacks would have been about as emotionally relevant to me as like the Mando flashbacks where he's hiding from the separatist B2s and the Mandalorians rescue him. Like to me, it was like, cool. Mando grew up on a world where the separatists were, rocking up and the Mandalorians came and rescued him, and cool, great backstory. Whereas with this, it's like, because of the cadence of these first 3 episodes and the fact that we got them all at once, it gave us both, because I think the story itself and the writing was more compelling than the brief 30 seconds at a time flashbacks we got from Mando, but because of the pacing of it in these first 3 episodes, it was way easier to get invested in it, way easier to emotionally attach with some of these characters, and they spent more time on the flashbacks than they did in Mando.
No, I agree completely. And again, like there is a real moment of on-screen bonding, like between the audience and the characters. Like again, like that whole town. And Conor, this is where I rely on you because I'm still too fresh to this. I can't remember planet names and some of the characters, but like that whole town, he's living it. Like it is that like I've been with y'all for like 2 hours now.
Ferrix, I think is the planet name.
Yeah, that town on Ferrix. Like it's just like, and because it pays off so much. Like, and I said like it like the Andor premiere feels like a segmented version. Like the Andor premiere does what the Clone Wars movie should have done. And by that, I mean not be a fucking movie. Like it really does. And again, like that's not, it's not me using the one thing to bash it. This is what this thing does better than this thing. It's easy shorthand. See how easy that is to not like shit on a thing by praising another thing? Cool. Like the Clone Wars movie because it moves at this like weird pace, because it's 3 or 4
'Cause it's
episodes,
a movie.
beginning and ending, and then beginning and ending, and then beginning and ending, and you try to stitch that into a movie, and it doesn't fucking work. It feels weird because it's just 4 different beginnings and endings. It does not lend itself well to a 3-act structure. This did, because it knew it was a show and not a movie.
Mhm.
It's like you get this feature-length premiere, and you also avoid the pitfall of the whole, we're making a 6-hour movie, but we're calling it a TV show, which I hate. I hate that shit so much at this point. It's just like the structure here was just so genius. And I love the people of Ferrex. I love Bix. I love
Tim.
Dude, we're all down
Tim
so bad
as
for
a
Bix.
concept. Oh my god, Bix is so beautiful. Oh my god. I don't thirst. I don't thirst very often. Damn. Just Bix's whole energy is just damn.
She's compelling though, like
That's what I'm
like
saying.
she's
so compelling.
physically attractive, but she's also got this compelling and like you were saying, this energy about her where I wouldn't want her to be my girlfriend. She's a little too like behind your back, secretive, like back dealing with your best friend, kind of like conniving in a way. But like she's got this very, it makes for good storytelling. It makes for a good character that she's like compartmentalized her life in a way, and it's like this is work and this is personal life, and like yes, the work and the personal life are like kind of commingled right now, but they're still definitely distinct. And then over here you have like the back deal, black market, shady action that's going on, and like that's where Andor lives, but the back deal, shady action and the business are like kind of commingled but still definitely separate. So you got like these 3 distinct parts of her life that are definitely distinct, and yet they're like commingling with each other in a way that makes for really compelling storytelling.
And because Cassian was fucking around, now they're all colliding into each other.
Right. And like you're saying, like his decision, we see him in such a like a naive, careless position right now. Like he did, and you see that even later on. It's very consistent in his character, but the stuff that he's doing now is really selfish, and I don't think that he understands completely the ramifications that his actions are going to have on the people that do him favors. And yet I don't think he would do anything differently if he did. Like, I want to think better of him, but I don't think that if Cassian knew what his shenanigans would cause in the course of those 3 episodes, I'm not convinced that he would do anything differently.
Probably not.
And something that I love about all of his friends, though, is it doesn't make them any less ride or die.
To an extent, though.
The Corpos show up, and Bix is like, oh, no. Bix knows how much trouble this could be for her even if she sat this out. She's still running to the front. That cat ties down the Imperial dropship so that it crashes.
Dude, that was great.
It's so good. Like, even though Cassian doesn't get it, his more mature friends are still picking him up. And again, I think that is just another fascinating element. It's super interesting.
It is, but I took that more as like, we'll deal with you when this is over. Like we are not done with you by a long shot. And I got a similar vibe from Cassian in a way that made me like really uncomfy, the same way that it made me the first time I saw this. But I got the same vibe from Cassian with how he interacts with his friends that I got from Han Solo in episode 7. Like, there's no one in the galaxy left for you to swindle. Like we know how you work. You're gonna borrow money and never pay it back. You're gonna ask for favors and then it's gonna all come back at me. Like, you're gonna ask to borrow a ship and then all heck is gonna break loose. I'm gonna have the authorities on me. You're gonna ask to sell this thing and the corpos are gonna show up. Like, they just as much as they may love him as like their friend, personally, they know how much of a liability he has become.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that like the way things are shaping up for him before the shit really hits the fan. And and again, this is just as much as this is such new territory for Star Wars to explore, for how mature this this show is, and all of those things, like there's still a core theme of like friendship is the most powerful magic in the universe. We're like, it really feels like Cassian is headed towards a real like come to Jesus conversation with his friends. Like it really, like the way he interacts with everybody feels so much like everyone's like, dude, we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
We cannot. Everybody is like, bro, come on. Like if shit did not go down the way it did here, I think there would have been a moment, at the least for the Junker dude whose name escapes me, I'm sorry, and Bix, at the very least just then would have been like, man, come on. We got to fix something here. Like there would have been that conversation, to come to Jesus conversation. But like because shit went left so hard, in the same way you were talking about, like we'll get to you later, but in the meantime we need to save your punk ass.
Yeah.
Like I need to save your life so I can kill you myself for being such a dipshit, like that kind of thing. Like even though this is dark and gritty Star Wars, all of those buzzwords that mean not a goddamn thing, even for all of those things, like friendship saves the day, like it's still
Unity.
it's still it's solidarity, it's unity, it's the power of like of community action standing against these like forces of imperialism and oppression. Like that's Star Wars. And also with the fairy tale bullshit of friendship. Like this is why I love Star Wars. A show can be this serious and grim and in its feelings and dark energy and all those things. I sounded like Venom. Eddie, we are drunk. Anyway, like you can be all of these things, but there's still that hope at its core. There's still that beauty at its core. It's still about family, like I want so much more of Petunia Dursley and Cassian.
I need more of
Marva. That's her name.
Marva. Yeah.
It didn't sound right out of my mouth, so I just went with Petunia, and I was going to hope somebody corrected me.
I was trying to figure out where I had seen her. It was either that or Maggie Thatcher from The Crown, and they might be one and the same. But I was like, where have I seen you? Anyway.
But no, like that whole relationship, and I think that like that mentality is something that like, because Marva finds Cassian in this downed ship and rescues him with the assumption that the rest of the village is going to be wiped out. There is something that is so chaotically good about that. Like there's a chaotic good to like, and again, the guy who's with her, who's presumably the father who's hanged, that we hear referenced by Luthen, but that like, oh well, he fell into my path, so I have to save him. There's something interesting about that, because that Cassian's never going to quite get there. I think if he lived past Scarif, he would have. I think that was in his heart by Scarif.
But like, be honest, until just now, I forgot that we already have a death date for Cassian. I until just now forgot that he is conclusively dead in canon. Fun fact.
You never know.
No, he's dead.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we'll get like a radioactive superpower version of Cassian that somehow survived the Death Star blast. Anyway,
comes out looking like the missing link.
Like a Bad Batch version of Cassian.
Ooh, I'm in. You sold me. I do, because we're coming up on the hour here. and we've been talking a lot about everybody but our corpos and our villains.
Dude, fucking Cyril, how do you pronounce his name?
Cyril, hold on.
Cyril? I don't know. That dude's got a stick up his ass.
He
Like,
is.
it's great.
I really like him. I really like him as a Star Wars antagonist.
Same.
And
I really hope he stays an antagonist.
Yeah.
Like someone said it on Twitter, surprisingly. That like I think they said it'd be really cool if like him staying an antagonist really just shows like how much something about along the lines of just devouring into fascism and how that would sort of eat him up and like what he would do to sort of, stay like that.
Well, radical bodies prey on people like him. And the reason I brought up like the kind of D&D alignment chart thing was because I wanted to bring it back to this point where like if Marva is the epitome of like a chaotic good, this guy's as lawful evil as you get. Like he has a code and he believes in this shit. And I think it's really fascinating because like so many other imperial bad guys are like they come in like these flavors of
Evil,
power hungry but devoted to the cause, Darksider who's destined for redemption, the fucking emperor, or just like groveling sack of shit. Like you rarely have people who truly feel like entirely devoted to the cause. I can think of 3, counting Cyril, of like Hux, who feels like legitimately ride or die for the cause. The southern dude from Burnin' Khan in Mando season 2,
Valen Hess.
Wait, is that the guy from the compound that Bill Burr goes crazy on?
Yeah.
I was thinking of that guy. I was like, I bet he's not going to think of that guy. And here he is thinking of that guy.
And Cyril, I'll say a 4th, Allegiant General Pride. But even then, in Shadow of the Sith, like he sounds like he couldn't give half a shit less about what's going on.
I was going to say the same. That like, Rise of the Sith? I already forgot the name.
Shadow
of the Sith. Thank you. I read that book in like 3 days and then promptly forgot everything about it. But I got the same impression. I was like, this is a very, very different Pride than we like. He seems like he couldn't give less of a crap about anything. He's just high half the time. He just seems really lackadaisical about everything.
Like there's a good bit of him going like, and when our empire is brought back to its former glory, like there's a lot of that in there, but there's also like him just kind of being a bum too, where like he doesn't feel fully aligned, but like most of the hardline like empire baddies in some way feel very like adjoined to the cause.
Oh, another one. Garrick Versio from Battlefront 2.
Yeah. But again, like how many? But like when you think Imperial, how many of us think like immediately go to like a sniveling bastard? That like that's kind of like the archetype. For better or worse, like even somebody like Thrawn, he's not dedicated to the Empire. He's dedicated for what's best for the ascendancy, which happens to be the Empire. Vader, Kylo Ren, they're destined for redemption from the beginning. They're here circumstantially. It doesn't matter what the governing body is. They're here to serve their master. And they got hustled into that anyway. Someone like Cyril, man, that's fascinating. Because again, and going to what you were saying, Connor, like because there's 2 diverging paths for him. There is his like obsessive like inclination towards code and conduct and law and order make him realize that all of that means nothing without like a core morality. And he sees that the empire and all of its subsidiaries are devoid of that, and he turns, maybe. Or, as Connor was saying, he's just one of those guys who's going to become more and more fanatical.
He's pilled.
Currently he's just a busybody. He's a busybody who takes the shit seriously, who has a moral compass. He has a moral compass. Whether or not it's pointing in the right direction is a different conversation, but he has a code of ethics. Just like Linus, whatever the hell his last name is. Like they believe in this. Super hardcore. Linus is pilled. Linus is empire pilled. Cyril isn't yet.
Who's Linus again? Is he the
He's a Scottish guy who says shit.
Which one? The sergeant?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who I also love. I could watch those two all day. They're so good.
Oh,
They're
Sam.
so good.
I love
Everybody's just killing it left and right.
That the two of them together are like unintentionally an archetype for like half of the platoon commander duos in the actual military. Like a really green lieutenant who doesn't have a clue what he's doing,
Who knows a lot on paper,
and like a tenured 20+ year man NCO who's like respected and experienced and is like, you don't know anything. You're my superior, and so I'm going to salute you, and we're going to work together, and I'm going to tell you what's what, and you're going to pretend like you knew it already. That's the vibe I'm getting from them. I'm like, wow, this is like the real military.
As fomenting, sir. Buckets of fomenting. Oh, such a great line. I again, like, and Spencer has had the displeasure of watching things with me, so he knows that like I'm not like the video we play at the end of every episode for Keandre, like with like the people like screaming and doing backflips and shit. But I will make noises at the screen, and I will have you know that like fomenting, pockets of fomenting. I let out an ooh, I let out an audible ooh, and this is such great line delivery. But yeah, like he has two routes to go. He's either going to be super empire pilled, or he's going to realize it's not the right thing.
I hope he's super empire pilled. I don't know why.
I can go either way. I just want to see it be done.
I will push back on you on this.
Okay.
You have placed Cyril into this category of like the lawful fanatical, following the line of justice to its just end. I saw something very different in him.
Okay.
I saw in him the guy who has. I saw in him the guy whose parents went away for the weekend, and he has until they get back to prove himself to be not only right, but to be really just to prove himself. He's got until dad comes home to prove himself. He has been explicitly told, we're going to ignore this. Like these guys may not have had it coming, but they were by no means stand-up examples of the Corpo security force. They shouldn't have been where they were. They shouldn't have been drunk. They shouldn't have been at a brothel. They've got multiple demerits on their record. We are going to skew this slightly into a story of not, like he said, like not heroism, but of exemplars. And that is the greatest purpose that they can serve at this point. That was all they were good for when they died, and that's all they're going to be good for in the aftermath of that. I see in Cyril somebody who is so desperate to move up the ranks, so desperate to establish themselves as an authority and as someone with clout, to work their way up the chain, that they are going to directly disobey their superiors, but they know they've got this much time to do it. We've got this much. And I think that's why he goes so hard on everybody else. He's like, we're on a time crunch here because I have exactly this long to prove that I'm right and to bring in the culprit. And only then can my superior look me in the eye and not say a darn thing about it until I have a confession on record with a suspect in jail. There is nothing that's going to prevent me from being, if not reprimanded and demoted, then just publicly scorned in front of everybody for not doing what I was told to do.
Yeah, it's definitely one of his biggest
He knows
fears.
that this is all or nothing. And he sees this, in my opinion, he sees this as his opportunity for advancement. So is he hardline? Maybe. Is he on like bordering on fanatical? Maybe. I think he's got a keen sense of law and order, and he's got a keen sense of justice, and he is for that reason unwilling to let two murders of what really end up being policemen. He's not allowed. He's not going to allow the murder of two policemen to get swept under the rug. Sure, he's got that sense of justice, that sense of law and order that is rigid and that guides his life. But I also feel very strongly he sees this as his only opportunity for advancement, because when I look at him, knowing very little about his context as we do, I see him as someone who has been in for some time and has never had an opportunity to be promoted.
Getting passed over.
Yes, he's. I agree with you in part, but I also think we're drawing too clear a line in the sand between like the main tropes of the Imperial and First Order type antagonists, where they're either going for power and influence, or they are just crazy fanatical force wizards, or they're like truly dedicated ride or die to the cause. I think he's straddling ride or die and like, I gotta self promote. Essentially, that's the take that I got from his character, from how he was written, how he was performed. He seems like a guy who is desperate to get attention.
Well, that's your take on that, and I appreciate that
for his career. Like, I'm not saying he's like just lonely or he's misbehaving.
Well, there's so much more we're gonna get to learn and unpack about this guy, and I can't wait for it. I also want to say before we wrap up here, and I'm now going to speak for everybody when I say this, that final action sequence, incredible. As I've been saying since like the advent of Disney Star Wars, and the fact that I had to accept early on that lightsabers would not be the guiding light of literally every action sequence ever, that it is a little harder to get me invested in a gunfight than a sword fight, because I think one of those things is way more fun to watch.
Same.
And this is one of those times where I went, man, I like the shoesting. This is good shoesting. So yeah. Oh, also the music is beautiful, and that theme that plays while Cassian is looking at the star field and in the credits sounds like Childish Gambino's Flight of the Navigator. Listen to that song when you're done listening to this, if you haven't before, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. That said, I think that's all we got.
That's all I got.
Connor, we're looking at you now.
No, to go back to your point, Spencer, about Cyril. I don't know.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah. However you pronounce it. I think I'm more with you on that, because I always felt that when I watched it, I was like, yeah, this guy just wants to get up in the ranks and sort of just become better at his job, because he's definitely green. He's definitely untested. He's definitely like just super rigid.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
you know, as we see at the end of episode 3, like he thinks he got them. Like he thinks like this is it. Like
right.
My life has just changed for the better. And then it's like, nope.
Kablooey.
Yep. It just blew up in his face.
Like you were saying about actual verbal reactions to stuff. Like I watched Cyril or whoever and his like NCO type character like smile at each other like, we did it. And I'm like, you so didn't. And then it like, and I laughed out loud. It was hilarious. But I think you're absolutely right. And if he does get pushed toward the hard line or toward desertion from the corpo, I think it's more going to be from his motivation to advance. He's either going to react to failure in a way that like pushes him more toward the book, or it's going to be like, what's the point? I went by the book and it all went wrong. And I think, like I said before, I think he in many ways is the most accurate trope for a low-ranking military officer that we've ever seen in Star Wars, because what you so often
That's a
see
big part of it. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that I did not verbalize that.
because what
it's
you
so weird seeing a grunt and like to steal the. I'm sorry.
no
I'm
go
sorry.
go ahead go ahead.
And to steal the point Alden made on the High Ground podcast. To steal the point Alden made the other night on a live stream, like he's not even in. Like, you're a corporate stooge serving the Empire. Like, you're not even a fucking stormtrooper, dude.
Yeah.
And he's just like he's just got all the boot in his mouth. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
bro. Anyway, sorry.
But by that same token, he's still an officer, but he's young, and you can tell. And this idea has been played out in real world cinema. But this idea that just because you are educated, just because you have rank, does not mean you will be worth the skin on your body in combat. We see, like, just two examples that I thought of right off the bat: Siege of Jadaville and 12 Strong, the Chris Hemsworth movie about the horse soldiers of Afghanistan right after 9/11. Like, two examples of really
such a pull. Holy shit, 12 strong. I think there's 12 people on this planet who remember that movie. God damn, that was good. That was just such a quick pull for you. That was impressive.
I watch a lot of war movies because I'm a military historian.
Impressive.
But like, two examples of guys who at the start of the movie, you can tell they're really smart. They are officers, but they have no experience. And in Siege of Jadaville, you literally, it's a little on the nose, but you literally see the officer after his first engagement go into his bunk, and he sees like all of his textbooks on his cot, and he literally flips his cot against the wall and walks out. It's a little on the nose, but you kind of get the point. You can tell that this guy is so green that he sleeps with his handbook under his pillow, that he is so by the book, that he is so rigid, that he is like, he has defined his life by upholding these things in this book, in this code of ethics, of honor, of whatever. You can tell that he has so structured his life around that whenever it is threatened in any way, even something as simple as, we're going to sweep this incident under the rug, believe me, it's better for everybody. He's like, no, we can't do that. It can't be done. And so to that extent, I think you are right in part, that like he has structured his life around the rigidity of the book. He lives his life by the book. And so for that reason, he cannot accept what his commanding officer tells him. But for the sake of his ambition, I think that's why he goes after the investigation as hard as he does, as quickly as he does. We see like maybe 5 seconds on screen of him contemplating, am I really going to do what he just told me to do? Bam. Look at this. Look at the star charts. Look at the manifest. Look at all the stuff. Do the research. Look at the KNR. Like find this guy. He is so quickly on it. Like, he is so quick to disobey because he knows we got this much time. And it is so reflective of, more so than anybody else, military career guys in Star Wars. It's more reflective of what you probably actually find. Like, my dad's told me stories. He's like, your platoon lieutenant might be the guy in charge, but when you're a private, when you're a corporal, you look to the sergeant major. You don't look to the lieutenant. You look to the sergeant major, because he's the guy with the years. He's the guy with the experience. He is the liaison between command and the soldiers of the platoon. And you will pay, of course, the officer their due respect. But when boots hit the ground, the one you're looking to for instructions is the sergeant major. And I think that in itself, just that relationship between the two of them was one of the most authentic, one of the most interesting things to see in a Star Wars universe, because it's going to be so relatable to not just military guys, but guys who are familiar with military guys as well. So I thought that was a really cool thing to see. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Well, with that, time for pluggables. Connor, where can the lovely people find you and all that you do, buddy?
Twitter at @DepaBanana. I also co-host another Star Wars podcast, For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We are currently going through the Clone Wars chronologically, and we will finish that in like 2 to 3 years. We will also be
2. It's getting longer now.
We will be also talking Andor and every other show that releases. So those will be released. Where else? Oh, well, no, you technically can't see me writing these questions, but I write trivia questions now. For Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations, my last match I recorded 3 days.
Bitch. I'm just getting that out of my system before I play my first match under Connor questions.
Oh boy. First, my final match for Epic Confrontations happened at the time of recording, which is September 22nd, 3 days ago, September 19th. That'll be out.
When that airs?
I think the 25th. I want to say. I don't know. I'll have to check with Eli. But I write trivia questions now. You can follow that at In a Galaxy Trivia on Twitter. Everything will be posted there. And Star Wars in a Galaxy on YouTube. That's where it'll all be posted. It's video only. It's not audio because it's trivia. I feel like you can't do a compelling trivia match.
You can, but you have to be bought into it. Most of Travis's Schmodown consumption, he did through the podcast feed.
Oh wow!
Like he did most of his schmoing, like as like the way people listen to sports on the radio.
Yeah, you gotta have enough familiarity with the format to know when Connor says, "Okay, Jared, what's your answer?" and he says Yoda. Okay, Spencer, what's your answer? And he says Yoda. You know that I didn't just copy what Jared. You got to be familiar with the format, but it would work, I think.
Yeah. sweditor.ig.com/fiction. I write stories. None are published yet. I do have one coming in like December or January. I have no clue. The release dates change like almost weekly. It's called The Hidden Kyber. It's set shortly after the events of Fallen Order, and it stars Seer Junda and Cal Kestis. So, yeah, go check out the stories already released.
Connor could have just been like, I wrote a story. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's about Cal. Yeah.
No, it's about Seer.
Same thing.
It's yeah.
I know. I'm being an ass. But
no, it's fine.
Spencer.
Yeah.
You can find me on where? You can find me on Twitter at Spenceman49. I have
This man just said golly.
Dude,
you call everything meat. Shut the hell up.
I know, but golly's like such a word I haven't heard in forever.
I have been alarmingly in the recent past made fun of for my unironic use of the word golly. I don't understand it. It's a perfectly good word.
It's great.
No, it's just people get caught off guard by it. It's such a like, oh, it's such a good, like, God, Connor, what did I say in Goon Squad not too long ago? Where like Alden was saying that like I oscillate between talking like a Zoomer and a Boomer. That it's like within the same second, like within the same sentence. Oh yeah, I said if I had my druthers. I said if I had my druthers, and Alden was like, "You were the most like talks like the youth person I know," but said if I had my druthers, you old fucking man.
Yeah,
it's okay. We share that.
I have had people specifically when it comes to the word golly give me a hard time about it. Mostly I say it as an exclamatory, not like, gee, Willie Gollygers or anything like, but more just like, golly, you know, but my papa says egads, like unironically. And I love it. I love it. No, not my dad, my mom's dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know Papa
be like, egads. That's his thing. And it's great. Anyway. So you can find me on Twitter at SpenceMan49, especially after the resounding approval that the two of you gave this episode. Not. But you can also find me on Instagram at SpenceMan Cosplay, and Jared will tell us all about where to find him.
Real quick, pluggables for me. First of all, thank you to everybody who tuned in and donated to Podathon. We are coming off of a crisp $16,000 that is going to be donated to Make-A-Wish. It couldn't have happened without you guys. Huge thank you to everybody involved: Scotty, Pete, Alden, Nick, all of the content creators who contributed to the show. In particular, thank you to Alex and Molly Damon of Star Wars Explained for having me on for their trivia segment. And thank you to Marie Wilson, Zach Burkett, and Gold Leader for also being a part of it. You gave this Schmodown fan his unofficial shot in the ring, and I also got to finally redeem myself for Elfroda, which my headphones fell off, so now I gotta try to get them back on while I rest the mic on my foot. Anyway, so yeah, that was all phenomenal. Go back, watch Podathon. The event's over. If you haven't seen it, it was really fun. It was a great time. A lot of the shows have already uploaded their segments, but there are some that are going to be Podathon exclusive for a while. Namely the trivia thing I did with Star Wars Explained, which is the end of the first stream. Continuing with the pluggables that aren't the Nerd Academy, I am one of the players, actors, stars, I don't know how to qualify that, of the all remaining systems Star Wars RPG Ionized Bastards. I play Fabian Martell, a mysterious dark Jedi who's recently been unemployed from his position as the champion in the fighting pits of a luxurious space station, and is going on an adventure with some very colorful characters played by Mr. Alden Diaz and Dan Miller of Octo Radio and Baraxium, respectively. So go check that out. Episode 2 is out now. They're both like just under 2 hours. And it's like any other D&D show you've ever seen, only we're using the Star Wars RPG rules. It's been a lot of fun. This is my first time getting to play a tabletop game, and I'm having a blast. Alden's done this kind of thing before. Dan's done it once before. And obviously Michael is our game master. And I think there will be a fourth member of the Bastards party that I will not spoil. But they stay bomb bad, I'll tell you that much. That narrows it down by quite a bit. You have a 50-50 shot. Joke's on you, it's Katie. No.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, right. Yeah, play D&D with Katie. But no, so that, there's a very wide spectrum of experience with this kind of thing on display at the table. Virtual table, that is. So please tune into that. I'm loving every second of it. It's been a blast to record. Michael is a very gentle game master, and I appreciate him very much for letting me be a part of this. That said, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous,
Where is it?
as towards the top, you can take word from Spencer's new friend.
Give me $1.
Speaking of, thank you to our $10 patrons. Don't worry, I'll do this part. Thank you to our $10 patrons, Nick Johnson, Keandre Lloyd, or our boy Paco, or as he's currently going by on the Patreon, Taylor Swift.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
He's getting murdered in court right now. Today was a shit show. He finally took the stand in Connecticut. I hope they bleed that son of a bitch dry for every red cent. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I feel the need, like when we play that clip while he's at trial, to like also bring up he's at trial and like facing the consequences for his very bad actions. But yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. We'll be back for more Andor talk hopefully next week. And may the force be with you always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!
Wait. I almost forgot one thing. Conor. Is it Austin who made the new logo? All the Star Wars editor people
Yes.
did. Okay. Thank you. SWE Austin made our brand new Knights of the Nerd Republic logo. I wanted to shout that out because I haven't done a new episode with the new logo yet. I wanted to call attention to that. And I'm sorry, but everybody, all the Star Wars editor people's profiles get mixed up in my mind because everybody has SWE in their stuff and I get confused. Anyway, thank you for the new logo and may the force be with you.
Stop!